Hello, welcome to another video. I've been a bit distracted by playing around. Hope that didn't show up on camera. I've been a bit distracted by playing around with my camera settings and buying some more equipment, including a few camcorders and capture cards. One of the cameras will be in use today. Yeah, bit of oak. I thought it was chestnut when it was sitting outside, but I'm pretty sure now I've got it inside that it is oak. It's not quite round yet. I know what to do about that. But before we get into today's video, a bit of a plug for an event that I'm taking part in on December the 12th. That's a Saturday, 5 p.m. till 1 a.m. I might be a bit bleary-eyed by then, but it's a worldwide event. Well, turners from the UK, the United States and Canada are taking part, 6 of us, 6 turners, and it's a ticketed event that you will need to buy a ticket for. More on that in a moment. There's a graphic coming up now, which will give you a bit more information about the event. You can see that although it's starting at 5 p.m. and finishing at 1 a.m., it's 6 demonstrators and each doing 2 demos, although the demos would be broadly similar because we have 2 demos going on at the same time. But another very important aspect of the event for me, and why I'm really interested in taking part, is not just the fact that you might see me falling asleep after midnight in my workshop, but that it will all be hosted on the same Zoom meeting with breakout rooms that you'll be free to move amongst, and go into a demonstration, leave it, go into another demonstrator's breakout room, or leave that and go to a room where you can just chat with other turners who've turned up. As much as possible, we're trying to create a virtual wood turning show, a bit like the ones that many of us enjoy going to throughout the year that we haven't been able to go to. There have been some great live events across the internet since lockdown and COVID started, but sometimes you've had to go into one room in a meeting and then leave that and go into a different platform to have a chat with people. So we're hoping that this will be a virtual, like a trade show, I think there might be in the States, or what we might think of as a symposium, something like the AWGB symposiums or UKIS, which I was at the last time it ran in 2018. Fantastic event. Or anything like the Yandel shows, where, as well as having a demonstration slot, the makers are on their stands all day. So I'll be demoing for 2 of the 8 hours and hanging around for the other 6. So please buy a ticket and come and talk to me. I really want to see many of you there. In terms of the cost, there are links below so that you can get to the website, read more about it and book a ticket. It's $20 for the whole evening or day, depending upon where you are in the world watching it. That works out at about 15 quid. Not bad for 6 demonstrators, and the opportunity to join in with an instant gallery, and I think there may even be a voucher to win. Ooh! Right, enough about that. There'll be more mentions of it from me across my website and Facebook, and probably in a couple more videos before we get to that wonderful event. Right, on with today's show. Right, somewhere I've got a little step centre. Here we go. This is what I'm going to be using, and look, there we go. One of our new cameras in use. I can zoom in. Look at how beautifully sharp that is. Nearly as sharp as the point of my step centre. Right, there's not going to be anything terribly scientific about this. I'm just going to use a jam jar lid and draw around it just to give me a rough idea. I reckon about there will give me the most of the wood.
similarly from here, so I'm just eyeballing it round the edge. This is a lot wetter, this one, so a little bit harder to see, but I reckon about there. And then bring up the tail centre, wobbling around a little bit. That should be fine. So these are the jaws that I'm going to be using, and you can see there's a little ridges, and they actually go in about 15 millimeters. At the moment my spigot is 10, so I'm going to make that just a little bit bigger just to give myself maximum gripping. Put those out of the way and get the other jaws. Right, so we've got to put 1 in first, 4 in last. That's 3. Right, so number 1 goes in. That's engaged. Number 2. Number 3. And then last one, number 4. Okay. Oh, don't chuck your chuck key on the floor. Now, I do have, if we go onto the overhead, the marks from the stab centre. You can see it's got a little bit frayed, but there's a nice little mark there, so I know that if I line that up, I can help centre this in the chuck. And that is sitting very nicely. Possibly this little nub is going to get a little bit in the way, so I'm just going to sand that off quickly, because again, if you look from the tailstock end, these are jaws that don't have the small cutout here either, because they were bought mounted onto slides. Right, I'll do this quickly and then I'll be back. Number 3. And then last one, number 4. Okay, so I want to make sure that this front face sits on the jaws and is not compromised in any way, because this is coming out some distance from the chuck. Right, so it's not finally tightened up yet, because I want to bring the tailstock back and help to get it centered. Lining that little hole up with the center. Now ideally it'd be good to have a step center in here the same size as that, but I think that's good enough. If we just turn the speed down, yeah, that's running nice and true. If I sort of say, well, I've got my spigot here, I want to give myself some clearance so that I'm not going to have the danger of coming into the chuck. That still is giving me something of about 10 inches. I think I want to put a sort of angle on the top. You can't really see that. There, make it a bit darker at the end. And I want to have a bit of shape. Quite difficult drawing a shape on a curved piece of wood like this, but I'm going to have it coming down to about there. Something tall and elegant, and then textured and coloured. Well, at least textured and coloured. Stuff it, let's do both. So that's giving. Right, well, now it's time to texture it. Some might say to ruin it. Now for the texture, with a Merlin 2 carbide fine rasp on. And I'm going to be putting the texture in this kind of orientation and spinning it round. Obviously I'm not going to have it on near my hand, and if I move the piece of wood I'm going to move the tool away. And outside there seems to be the rumbling of a strong wind coming. We'll have my Air Shield Pro on as well. It's a colour I don't use very often, so maybe I should go for green. And this might determine or make my mind up why I don't use it very often. Now you'll notice that I'm putting it into a pot with gold acrylic paint that's dried all in there. I'm really not too bothered. I'm trying to get this into the bottom of the texture with a very ragged old paintbrush, and it's my usual style of doing things, just slapping it in. This finer brush is doing a better job, finer tipped brush, better job, as you can see, of getting into the bottom of the texture. Might be able to come in a bit closer for you. There you can see going in right into the bottom. The top will have a darker colour put on over anyway. Well, maybe. Oh, glasses are falling off. Maybe it'll be darker, maybe it won't. It's done. I'm going to go now to the bright blue. Just come out a bit further, give you a bit more of a view. So that should be, probably could be a bit sharper focused. I'm going to blend the colours together anyway. And this blue is going to look green on the oak because of the tannin in it. So you can see, I'll put it on the paper next to it, quite different colour. Now I want to cover all of the wood. Don't want any bare wood. I'm going to have a go with a bit of yellow now. I'm going to put that straight into the blue that I've just been using. Hopefully get a sort of lighter green kind of look. Yeah. And running that in. Getting it down into the bottom of places where no stain has yet covered. It's perhaps a little bright, but that will be being toned down, so don't despair if you're thinking, that looks horrible. if it looks horrible, then if you have a go at it, you can do different colours, can't you? So make sure all that texture is covered. Down the bottom here. Haven't got very much dark colour there. I'll come back and sort that out. Okay. Tiny bit now of royal blue that I'm going to put in with that yellow and other blue. You can see there just a little bit. Just going to mix that in and going to start down the bottom here. And again, I want this to blend, mix with the other colours. I don't want a patch where there's just one colour only and that's predominating. So we've done green, yellow, blue, bit of sawdust there, royal blue, and getting a nice variation of colour. Decision time now is, do I leave it as it is? Or do I put something else on? I was thinking of doing an acrylic metallic paint thinned down, but I think there's enough going on there without that. But I'm probably going to ruin it by, I want something to catch the high points. I don't know whether that's going to be white or whether that's going to be black. I'm just going to give that a quick dusting. I need something that lifts it, I think, for my eye. And this is a way of doing that. Again, this is just catching the tops. I'd like to get a bit of it down into the bottom of the colour. Come onto the overhead, which has decided it doesn't want to be in focus and is going to turn off because it doesn't like running on battery. Let's go for a long shot. You can see how fluid my paint action is. So I'm not putting an awful lot on, and the thing with the white is that as it dries it sort of softens, but there's still not enough, for me, enough, I want to say harsh contrast. Harsh makes it sound like I want something that's going to really be difficult to look at, but I think I will be doing some black just to give some stronger contrast in places, to just frame the greens and the whites. Last time I tried to dry brush in the last video with my textured bottom bowl, it went spectacularly wrong, didn't it? One splodge of black, 1, 2, 3 wipes, 1, 2, 3 wipes. Now those wipes seem to have done a reasonable job of cleaning this up. Now I think I prefer that. I think I do. What's it look like from the other side there? I think that adds something to it, and it does do what I wanted, to give a bit more definition. Now I could of course take it a bit further. Just adding a little bit more and do another colour over the top of that. But this is a much better way, I think, of getting that texture on. There's still something that's missing for me. I can't decide what it is. Possibly it's a bit of sheen which will come with some lacquer. In a little bit, out a little bit. In out. There comes a point where your only way of getting the drill bit out and still drilling is to move the whole tail stop. Now, right, bit of cut and polish going on now. Just to get a nicer finish at the top here, so it looks good in the photos. There, a little bit of black on the bottom of the foot. Just taking it. Right, going for finishing. And I'm going to be finishing with some lacquer. See, I've got a proper respirator on. Very important when you're spraying. Well, there we go. Another little project done. A little bit of a dust stuck on there. Let's get that off. And inside. Now, I had a suggestion from someone in a comment on the last video about putting some texture on the rim of the bowl. So I've sort of done that with this one. It's a rough, unfinished-ish top rim, which actually is a little rough to touch. But I like that it's a little bit on the I might have to say on the slant. Yeah. So lovely. Enjoyed doing that, and I think the black was a good addition. Nice satin sheen to it. I might put another coat on. But that's dried very nicely with my radiator on. Goodness, it's 20.1 degrees. Positively balmy. And on that note, thanks for watching.
Why didn't I leave it like this? And catch it. That was lucky. Right.